What's up everyone, and welcome back to the channel. If you've been following my recent videos, you know I've been on an absolute mission to clean up my PlayStation trophy list. It's a mess, it haunts me, and I need it fixed. But today I decided to take things a step further. Instead of going back to a single random game to grab a random missing bronze trophy, I decided to look at an entire franchise. The goal? Platinum and 100% completion across the whole damn series. No matter what it takes, no matter how much it costs, and no matter how much of my sanity I lose in the process. The franchise on the chopping block today is Watch Dogs. Now, going into this, I was actually in a pretty decent spot. I already had the platinum trophies for the original Watch Dogs and Watch Dogs 2, but there was one massive glaring black mark on my profile. Watchdogs Legion. I gave up on it a while back, and honestly, coming back into it, I couldn't even remember why I quit. So that's exactly where our journey begins. Grab a drink, settle in, because this was an absolute slog of hacks, drones, permadeath, and multiplayer luck. We are taking this on one game at a time. So I boot up Legion, drop right back into where I left off years ago, and immediately just start pushing through the main campaign. It took a hot minute to get used to the controls and the whole play as anyone mechanic again, but once it clicked, the story flew by. Finishing up the late game campaign missions netted me 3 major trophies right off the bat. 2 bronzes for completing specific late game story arcs, and a beautiful gold trophy for finally crossing the main line and beating the main story. With the city technically saved, it was time to clean up the open world, and let me tell you, Legion loves its busy work. First up on the list was the side quest Change of Heart. After that, I had to secure the trophy for 50 audio logs. Now, this wasn't particularly the hardest or most annoying trophy to grab, mostly because I had already been scanning them as and when I found them throughout my playtime, so it popped pretty naturally without a massive headache. While doing that, I also managed to get a revenge mission and also cross that off the list. Then came the recruitment drive. To set up for a bunch of miscellaneous trophies, I expanded my DedSec roster to 20 operatives, making sure to grab people with completely different occupations. This is where the game gets quirky. Having a massive team opens the door for trophies like the Royal Tour, where you have to enter Buckingham Palace disguised as a royal guard, and Death from Above, which requires you to drop a dive bombing drone onto an unsuspecting enemy. But we weren't done with London's public spaces yet. I had to turn all of London's boroughs to defiant status, which meant doing a bunch of red map activities. And while I was travelling from borough to borough, I decided to tackle 2 of the most infamous trophies in this game, Bullseye and Bottoms Up. Yes, you have to play a game of darts in every single pub in London, and you have to take a drink at every single pub in London. If you miss one, or if the game glitches, you have to start the loop all over again. Thankfully, the trophy tracking worked, and I got my DedSec agents thoroughly drunk and victorious. Next up, I apparently needed a side hustle, so I became a literal Amazon delivery driver for DedSec. I hopped on a bike, completed 20 parcel delivery missions, and used up all that hard-earned crypto to purchase every single weapon and gadget upgrade in the tech menus that gave me another 2 trophies. From there, it was time to channel my inner James Bond. I recruited a spy, found a group of Albion guards, and used the spy watch gadget to jam and disable 5 weapons at the exact same time to unlock Shaken Not Stirred. Then came the paste up trophy, and if you thought audio logs was going to be tedious, try finding every single street art location in London and sitting through a 5-second stencil animation for every single one of them. But hey, it popped. I then followed that up by grouping a bunch of targets together, hacking 8 of them simultaneously, and then used a police officer operative to arrest 5 people on the street to clear out those specific combat trophies. To wrap up the remaining side content, I did the Bagley's Origins questline, which was actually surprisingly emotional for an AI companion, and completed the Royal Treatment side quest to find those hidden mansion locations. With almost everything done, I had a few silly ones left. I found a street performer who could turn into a human statue, generate a massive 5-star pursuit level, activated the statue emote, and somehow managed to completely evade the cops while standing perfectly still. Finally, I had a massive bank account from all those deliveries and missions. I went to the high-end clothing stores and dropped over 100,000 crypto ETO on the ugliest, most expensive designer clothes I could find to earn the trophy, Fresh Threads. I sprayed a new skin onto a vehicle, slapped a wrap onto a weapon, and boom, the shiny new platinum trophy for Watchdogs Legion was mine. But as any trophy hunter knows, the platinum is only half the battle. To get that 100% completion marker, I had to open up my wallet.
Here comes the money.
I spent £10 on the Bloodline DLC, which honestly was not that bad of a deal because it also came with the full copy of the original Watchdogs and all of its DLC. Bloodline puts you in the shoes of Aiden Pierce from the first game and Wrench from the second game. Honestly, this DLC was a breath of fresh air. The trophy list here is incredibly straightforward. All you have to do is play through the main story missions, complete all the side quests for the supporting cast, and grab a handful of audio logs along the way. It didn't take too long. The writing was way better than some of the main game, and playing as a grizzled Aiden and a chaotic Wrench felt completely awesome. But then I looked at the final trophy list for Legion, the update pack, and there it was, one single terrifying trophy. Now, if you don't know what resistance mode is, let me paint a picture for you. The difficulty is dialed up to 11, tactical hacking is restricted, enemies are smarter, deadlier, and worst of all, permadeath is permanently turned on. If your operative takes a bullet to the head or gets blown up by a drone, they don't go to the hospital, they don't go to jail. They are dead, deleted from your game forever. If you lose all your operatives, I guess it's game over. You have to restart the entire campaign from scratch. Now, I'm not going to lie, I went into this expecting it to be an absolute nightmare, because it's permadeath, and this is an open world game full of random explosions and drone strikes. It is a complete recipe for broken controllers. You find yourself spending hours carefully recruiting random citizens just to have backup bodies in case your main fighter gets wiped out. Every single mission felt high stakes. My heart was pounding during every stealth segment, but surprisingly, it wasn't as horrible as I anticipated. You learn to play incredibly safe, abuse spider bots, and never take on a fight you don't have to. I only truly struggled on one late game mission where the enemy spam got completely out of hand and I lost 3 of my best recruits in a matter of minutes. But I managed to pull through it, the final credits rolled, and that elusive resistance trophy pinged. Watchdogs Legion was officially sitting at a glorious 100%. That's one game down, time to move on to the next. Next up on our one game at a time checklist was the game that started it all, the original Watchdogs. Now, like I said earlier, I already had the platinum trophy for this from years ago, so going in, I thought this was just going to be a quick, easy, nostalgic DLC cleanup. But how wrong was I? I got the nostalgic part, but the quick and easy, I was only half right. I started up the Bad Blood DLC, which follows T-Bone. I completed all of Act 1, and then I immediately stopped. Anyone who hunts trophies knows that The absolute scariest part of clearing any old DLCs is the multiplayer servers. This game came out over a decade ago. Are the servers even online? Is anyone still playing? I went into the matchmaking menu for the 10 required co-op missions. I hit search and I prayed and I waited and I waited, but miraculously, I found someone. There were still people playing this game, which I found kind of awesome. So I managed to get the 10 co-op contracts done relatively quickly, and I breathed a massive sigh of relief. The online barrier was cleared. Now comes the single player grind, and Watchdog 1 loves its numbers for you to get the 100%. I had to complete a staggering amount of side missions. Let's count them: 20 self-club missions, 20 fixer contracts, 20 militia contracts. Completing those allowed me to finally upgrade the top tier upgrades, including upgrading my remote control car to detonate and kill 4 enemies at once for a specific combat trophy. I then pushed through Act 2 and Act 3 of T-Bone's story, and then that left just one final hurdle: the driving missions, all 29 of them to be exact. By about the 10th driver mission, I was completely on autopilot. I had already completed the majority of the contracts by then, so it was just a matter of grinding these out, constantly praying that I didn't mess up and fail a run, which would just prolong the whole process even more. It was a massive slog. There was 89 total side missions, which included all of the South Club, Fixer and Militia contracts from earlier, alongside the 29 driving missions. When I finally finished that final one, the sound of that trophy ping was absolute pure relief. This is 2 games at 100%. Now for the final stop. Moving on to our final game in the franchise is Watch Dogs 2. Once again, I already had the base game platinum, but the DLC maps were completely empty. I had to drop another £10
Shut up and take my money!
on the PlayStation Store to buy the remaining DLC packs. That put me at £20 total spent, just to get the privilege of cleaning up these trophy lists. Watch Dogs 2 has 3 major DLC packs with trophies. The first one is Human Conditions. This one gives you 4 silver trophies, all tied to the story campaigns. I started off with Off the Hook storyline because it's the longest and forces you to complete a massive chain of missions before the final trophy drops. The other 3 storylines, Bad Medicine, Automata, The Caustic Progress, consisted of about 4 missions each, and were relatively easy and super fun to play through. Marcus and the Dead Set crew have such a great dynamic. Next up was the No Compromise DLC, specifically the Moscow Gambit storyline. Again, this was just one single silver trophy tied to a short arc of about 4 missions. It was incredibly easy, straightforward, and I blew right through it. I was feeling confident, I was flying high, and then I met the final boss of this entire franchise cleanup, the Showdown DLC. The final trophy required me to get the maximum win streak bonus in the online PvP Showdown mode. Let me explain why this sent shivers down my spine. First, finding a match in a niche DLC PvP mode on an older game is nearly impossible. Second, it's a win streak. If you get matched against sweaty players who never stop playing this game since the launch, or if you get a random teammate who decides to go AFK, your streak resets to 0 and you have to start all over again. I sat in matchmaking for literally hours, my screen just spinning, searching for players. I was genuinely starting to think that this £20 investment was going to end in absolute failure right at the finish line. But finally, the game found a lobby. I got placed into a match, and I'm not going to lie to you guys, I got completely, utterly, undeniably lucky. My random partner was an absolute god at the game. They knew every sightline, every hack, and completely carried the objective. Well, I did my absolute best to support them and not die. We went on a tear and dominated the matches, and we achieved the maximum win streak bonus on my very first attempt. I have never closed a game out so fast in my life out of just sheer pure relief. And just like that, it was over. 3 massive open world games, every single story mission, every single piece of tedious DLC content, every pub visited, every drone hacked, and every multiplayer hurdle entirely cleared. All 3 games are now sitting at a beautiful, pristine 100% completion on my profile. And after all of that hard work, I secured 1 new platinum trophy and got all 3 games to 100% completion. And I am still not even at 50% on my profile. I'm currently sitting at 48.69%. It turns out when you have years of uncompleted games hiding in your library, it takes a whole lot more than that to change this completion rate. But we are getting there, slowly but surely, 1 game at a time. If you enjoyed this run of games and seeing me finally get 3 more 100% completions, then hit that like button. If you want to see more of this content, then hit that subscribe button. But until the next time, happy hunting.